Thanks for introducing. We've got 6 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thanks for coming. There are 2 sign-in sheets. There's one in the back of the room for the select board meeting, and then one on a clipboard circling around for the public hearing for the Gristmill Hill Bridge. Please make sure you sign both of them. And with that, we'll open up the meeting for the public meeting for discussion of the Gristmill Hill Bridge.
Well, basically,
Let's have a motion first, I guess.
okay, go ahead.
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy.
Our engineer HEB has brought the 3 alternatives that we've talked about with what the replacement for the Gristmill Bridge was gonna be. And we're going to review those. They're similar to what was there before, but we now have more information as far as cost, the state approval process, and what effects there will be or not be related to Route 4 and things of that nature. So with that, we'll let Chris take off and give us a presentation so we can then open it up for questions after that.
Excellent. So I need to see if I can do that from here.
There you go.
That one?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna click through you.
All right. Sorry about that. Spoiler. All right. So yeah, thank you for having us tonight. I'm Chris Fournier with HEB Engineers, and I have Trevor Ricker as well from our office who's assisting with this project. So this is the public informational meeting for the Gristmill Hill Road project, as we've talked about. And it is a New Hampshire DOT project as well as a federally funded project. So we'll get to that in a minute. A few frequently used acronyms, not that frequently, but just a few acronyms we have at the early stage of this presentation is FHWA is the Federal Highway Administration, NHDOT, New Hampshire Department of Transportation, MOBILE, which is the municipally owned bipartisan infrastructure law, which it's a sub-program of the overall federal bipartisan infrastructure law, which was passed a little while back. And then LPA is considered the local public agency for this program. So the overall funding details of this project and why we're here is New Hampshire DOT is providing 80% funding for the design phases of this project. And the town was fortunate to receive 100% funding from the federal government through the Federal Highway Administration for the construction of this project. So that is how the current project agreement is written between New Hampshire DOT and the town at this point. That agreement will need to be revised as the results of the process that we're through at this point. So we're here to provide a general overview of the project, as Chet said, and receive public input on the presentation. So Federal Highways primarily funding, it is a town-owned bridge, and the town is managing the process. So you are the decision makers of this. You are the LPA in the process. And New Hampshire DOT provides oversight through their Bureau of Planning and Community Assistance. So a public input session, or the public input session, was held back in August of last year, so quite a while ago at this point. I think a lot of the discussion at that point in time was the potential closure of the bridge and the installation of the temporary bridge, which has the dust has settled on that. But the public input that was received regarding the permanent replacement of the bridge, or what to do next permanently for the bridge, the input that was received really educated the process that we've been going through for the past year, along with feedback from the town, and then you'll hear feedback from project stakeholders as well. So tonight's meeting is sort of the next step in that federally regulated process. So we have the sign-in sheet because it is a federally regulated process that we need to present the information that's here to the public. So just to recap on some of the things which I believe you're familiar with, but just an overall aerial image of the site with Route 4 running east to west, and Gristmill swooping down the hill down to Route 4 with the bridge pretty close to that intersection. There's an existing mill structure remnants down on the river, much lower than the bridge elevation. And the Indian River is flowing from right to left on this page. We also have the Northern Rail Trail, which occupies the railroad corridor that extends through there. And that Northern Rail Trail flows underneath Gristmill Hill Road through a big culvert. So that's kind of the lay of the land from the aerial imagery. Existing conditions of the bridge, as was presented at the last meeting as well. Some of these photos are a little older before the temporary bridge was installed. But the condition of the bridge is not wonderful, and really needs replacement. So ultimately, that was the hole and the deck deterioration that really drove the need for the load reduction and the temporary bridge installation to kind of extend the bridge's life just enough for us to move forward with this replacement project. And then the temporary bridge, as you guys know it today. So following the input we received at the public input session back in August, we worked with the town to develop, we attended another select board meeting after that, I believe virtually, where we helped craft the purpose and need for the project, which is kind of the formal guidance of how this project is based on that input, how it needs to formulate itself. So the purpose that we helped the town move forward with was to correct the structural deficiencies of the bridge. So that's number one. Improve traffic safety on both bridge approaches. So we heard concerns regarding the curve on the upper end and the sight lines at the Route 4 intersection, and minimize future maintenance costs. So that's really a result of just the budgeting process in town and trying to reduce future maintenance costs. The need is feels a little redundant, but it's necessary, but demonstrated by the structural deficient condition of the concrete bridge deck and guardrail, as well as the inclusion of the bridge on the municipal bridge red list. Concerns regarding traffic safety on both bridge approaches, and limited funding from the town of Canaan for future maintenance of town-owned bridges. You have a lot of bridges and a lot of funds, so we're looking to reduce that. And then we'll talk about some of the considerations on the project. As far as cultural resources are concerned, the Mill Foundation is of concern for this. So we did consult with the New Hampshire Division of Historic Resources regarding the mill, and basically, if that site is going to be impacted, we do need to do further consultation with them. So the alternatives that we'll analyze, some may impact the foundation and some may not. So that's part of the consideration of selection of alternatives. More project considerations is that intersection that I believe we're familiar with, and the limited sight lines that are available at that point. And then just there are overhead utilities and underground utilities on the site. So these orange lines, which may be seen, are the overhead utilities, not too complicated. So that shouldn't really be too big of a project consideration. But there is a fiber optic cable buried right next to the rail trail. So we are aware of that, and something to know that's there and avoid potentially. Right-of-way impacts are also a consideration for the project. This is generally the right-of-way, so the New Hampshire DOT right-of-way for Route 4. This land is also owned by New Hampshire DOT. And then there is the right-of-way for the rail corridor, which also is DOT ownership. Town right-of-way over the road, and then the adjacent parcels on the other corners. And then rail clearance. So our public input session was nearly a year ago. So it's kind of a long duration between these two meetings. There was significant discussion with New Hampshire DOT Bureau of Rail and Transit regarding this tunnel and rail clearances. So current state statute is that rail clearance shall be 22 feet of clearance for rail. We understand there are no rails there. But this is was determined as a high priority corridor for potential reemergence of rail. So keeping in mind that the way structures are being designed and built, we're asking these bridges to last a century. So some forethought into the potential reemergence of rail over that period of time, needs to be considered as part of this. So there was quite a bit of back and forth and discussions with New Hampshire DOT Bureau of Rail regarding this. And New Hampshire Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, which maintains the rail trail portion of it on top of the DOT right-of-way, was involved as well. And we'll talk about those considerations as we go through the alternatives. So just development of the bridge alternatives, we did, in general, there are 3 actions to, address structural deficiencies on bridge preservations, which are more like repairs, rehabilitations, which is pretty much major work, but keeping the character of the bridge the same. And then replacement is what it sounds like, is just getting rid of everything that was there and replacing it with some completely new. So of the alternative analysis, it ended up being 3 alternatives that were replacing the bridge, just because it was not prudent or feasible to preserve or rehabilitate the existing bridge. The 3 alternatives that were selected for study were alternative A, which is considered an on-alignment replacement. Pretty much a new bridge where the old bridge was. Alternative B, an off-alignment replacement, so just slightly altering the location of the road so that a bridge could be built at a different site. And then third was the alternative of C, was considered, we called it bridge relocation, is really a significant departure from the existing bridge location and finding another stretch of river to locate the bridge. So those are the alternatives that we're going to go. Of all 3, they have some similar characteristics where we're recommending concrete substructures, really for the durability of that. Steel girder superstructure, which is generally pretty straightforward to maintain. All 3 of these are considering, because of that reduced future maintenance costs, are incorporating stainless steel reinforced concrete deck. So some of the deterioration that you've seen with the existing deck is the steel reinforcing that is inside the concrete gets water to it and expands and causes the concrete to deteriorate. So we're directly adjusting that. It's going to provide a wider width, 27-foot width, so 2 cars will be able to safely pass one another, and a 6 to 8 month construction duration. So aiming for the project to be complete within 1 construction season. We're also aiming for all of these to be a 120-year lifespan. That's with a regular routine of maintenance, preservation activities, and rehabilitation activities. They all have, wetland impacts, environmental impacts, and potential impacts to historical resources as well. Focusing in on alternative A, this image may be a little hard to see, but it's sort of a simple steel bridge structure. We're a little closer up on the proposed bridge would be a little longer than the one that's there today, just for simplicity of construction, but largely maintain that existing alignment. So not really addressing the intersection improvement. So we do not have any intersection improvement based on the rotation of the two roadways. The total cost of this alternative is $3.1 million. The town's share of that, which is considered to be just 20% of the design phases, is $90,000. And then the traffic closure. So the part of this is during construction, the bridge would need to be closed in order to build the new bridge in that location. So that's kind of a consideration for this. And whereas when we had the discussion regarding the temporary bridge, it was, going to be potentially a 3-year closure of that road. This would be a 1 construction season closure of that road. So it's a slightly bit different of a conversation as far as closure. Alternative B, that off alignment really solves that issue where it allows us to construct a new bridge just downstream of the existing bridge and maintain traffic on the other bridge while building a new one just downstream. So this one has sort of less right-of-way impacts. So we're outside the town's existing right-of-way, but not by much, and maintains the general characteristic. Some intersection improvement at the Route 4 side of this, where we are improving the angle of approach and sightlines, but not to the degree that it would be, ideal. The total cost of this alternative was $4.4 million, and the town's 20% share of the design services would be $104,000. That would be at about an 80-foot span bridge. And yeah, minimal impacts to traffic control because of that maintenance of the old bridge. There would be some tie-in closures and related to this. And alternative C is really that complete relocation. This has been, we've been working with the town for a while. This has been conceptualized for quite a long time as fixing the double S curve running into Route 4. This configuration sets up a perfectly perpendicular tie into Route 4 and allowing pretty nice sight lines in each direction. So completely correcting that intersection. And then also, alleviating the tight curves on the approach down the hill, which can be a little treacherous in the winter, perhaps. The total cost of this project is considered to be $5.5 million. You'll notice the town's share is lower for this more expensive alternative. And part of that is this alternative provides the 22 feet of clearance over the rail corridor, okay, and eliminates the need for a DOT-owned bridge structure, okay? So part of those conversations was DOT was going to basically stop any additional charges on the town from basically this point forward.
That's what we've already spent.
That's basically what you've already encumbered. Yep. And what that would do is because this is the most beneficial to them, they're kind of offering a little incentive. But yeah, it eliminates an asset that they are responsible for maintaining, and allows for that clearance. Whereas, if the town were to replace that bridge in kind and rail came back, this bridge would be too low to ever allow rail to go through there. Similarly, this other alternative.
Where's the wall? This is meets existing.
What's that?
15 foot.
Oh, this meets existing. Okay. Yep. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
That's what I thought.
Sorry, Chet, that's why you're looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, does not meet 20.
What I remember.
It meets current use. Current use is the requirement, so it does meet 15 feet clearance, or 13 feet clearance. But nonetheless, it is what DOT decided at the front office meeting with DOT.
Yeah,
Apologize.
DOT likes the alignment and the access to the rail trail well enough that they will pay for the whole bridge. Is what it amounts to.
Yep. I apologize for misspeaking. Because yeah, some of the alternatives we had to, really raise this up a little bit was looking at raising Route 4. And that was gonna come in another additional expense and something that we wanted to avoid, or DOT wanted to avoid. So apologize for that clarification. So just a summary of the different alternatives and their escalating costs and all different costs to the town. One alternative is sort of sticking up there, and the town has identified alternative C, the relocation alternative, as the preferred alternative that best meets the project's purpose and need. So that was the point of setting up that the guidelines for the project progress. So now focusing in on that alternative, we can now look at specific right-of-way impacts for that. And this is, part of the specific purpose of this meeting is to identify that, these pink parcels will have property impacts due to this alternative. There are additional impacts where the bridge is relocated, but those are DOT impacts. So we anticipate that those will go over well. So the overall project schedule. So we're at this point here where the execution of this meeting is the last step before submission of the engineering study to New Hampshire DOT this summer. The design and permitting process for the step bridge takes a little while, so that is expected to be completed in summer 2026, with construction potentially going out to bid to contractors in the fall of 26, so that way they can be ready to go for the proper construction season in 2027, with the project closed out later on that year. So that's the progression that we envision for this project as well.
Just out of curiosity, when you look at the fall of 26 for bidding. And then spring construction, water levels are typically a lot higher. Is the span far enough out that we're above high water level? Is the question that comes to my mind.
Yep. Yeah, let's scroll back here.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. No, perfect. And
What's our budget rate on the temporary bridge? 3,000.
No. Yeah.
No, it's 18.
18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this graphic didn't quite, I think the glare is not helping us out here, but it is much longer than the existing bridge. So it's really set back from the river course. That aids in speed of construction of not having to dewater and deal with the water. But we
We say the
should,
Route 4 end is the only end that might be affected by high water. They can start construction on your abutments and
Yeah, because I know the river and the span of everything is wider there, so I didn't know how much we were above high water
yeah.
and what that was gonna do.
There's pretty steep embankments on that
Yeah.
side, so the bridge is considered one of the more high and dry bridges that we
Okay.
come across. So
We like to hear
it
that.
should not be impacted by that.
there is still where you're talking there's probably still will run into some ledge issues,
Correct.
which is
So
that
again, in this case, I think because it's a fully funded bridge, they're paying for any of those impacts. It's not a risk to the town if they run into more ledge, I would assume.
Correct. So typically, on a typical project, we would have done geotechnical analysis already, but because the location of the bridge was in question, we didn't want to drill holes and waste dollars.
Yeah.
Drilling borings at a location that we didn't know yet, and that wasn't going to be beneficial to us. So at this point, the first step in our next design phases would be to do geotechnical borings in the right location and do some of that further analysis to refine that and get those unknowns as knowns. That's really what we're trying to do. Yeah, I mean, at this point, well, I guess you guys run the show, but I did entertain any questions from you folks or the public.
So we're still picking up another 70,000 in cost from the rental of the temporary. Right?
Yeah, which we're
Either
gonna have
way.
either way, so
Yeah.
it's not an additional cost, we just have to figure that part out. I mean, when you look at the alternatives and we had a meeting about a month ago or a month and a half ago. And Scott and I were there, and when you look at a bridge that they're willing to take the most expensive alternative. It is absolutely the best alignment as it relates to Route 4. And the town pays less. I mean, it really is an unusual situation where the state is just trying to do the right bridge and it's not gonna cost the town anything more than what we've already spent. So I think that's a huge piece of this decision, so
And do we know how many property owners are affected?
I think it's two.
3.
Is it three?
Yeah.
What's the third one?
Yeah, this
Oh, that's-
parcel,
That's not the same one as that one.
no, it has a little sliver on this side for a fill
Okay,
slope.
so three.
And of note on this alternative too, as it stands right now, the remainder of Grist Mill, the culvert would be removed as part of that.
Could there be access to the rail trail there as well?
There could be, yeah, and could be part of the design process, but it is currently conceptualized as just a dead end turnaround, that way plow trucks and delivery trucks and whatnot can turn around there. But design is still yet to happen. These are very conceptual. Yeah.
What's the town's annual maintenance cost over the 125 years? So we've got a longer bridge here, it's gonna be more expensive to maintain. And the other option is DOT owns some of the bridge and crosses the rail trail. And the town owns the rest.
Yep.
So, how big are the differences there in maintenance cost?
Sure. Yeah, maintenance costs can generally be based on a square foot basis. So yeah, a 120-foot span bridge will have 3 times the maintenance cost of a 40-foot span bridge. Just it is really generally that straightforward on.
Can you put some dollars on that? Dollars or 25 million?
Who knows what things are going to cost in 100 years?
Just look at the near future.
Yeah.
Today's dollars.
Yeah, that was not part of our analysis. I think the focus on reducing maintenance was really the material selection and providing something that was least costly to maintain. So you do have a fair point that the initial cost is higher, but also the maintenance cost is higher. So yeah.
The most important thing you can do on any of these bridges to keep maintenance costs down is every spring wash them off. Get rid of that salt residue.
Canaan has a track record of not doing anything.
Yes.
Especially when we get in trouble financially, defer easily.
But the washing part of it literally is a matter of a truck with a pump on it and a hose done.
Yeah,
Wash them.
and in the past, where I've been, we use the fire truck training nights to go wash bridges, and run the pumps.
And there
things of that
are-
nature.
There are solvents that they recommend. Last one I was using was every 3 years to spray the bridge. A bridge that size would take about a 50-gallon barrel, which is last prices I got, I was paying around $1,200 for that 50 gallons, and we would get 3 years out of it with the bridges we had. But a bridge that size, it would take that 50 gallons, and you spray the concrete with it to prevent weathering.
So how often are we gonna have to paint it? How often are we gonna have to rebuild it? The deck goes to pot periodically.
Yeah, I think that's the hope with stainless steel reinforcing and bridge constructions in New Hampshire is still relatively very new. So typical bridges have epoxy coated reinforcing in them. And those you want to do a preservation action every 20 years. So that's the recommended frequency of that. And then a bridge rehabilitation every 40 years. So that's how we we get to that 120-year lifespan. I'm sorry, every 60 years. We do 2 preservations, a rehabilitation, 2 preservations, and then replacement. That's your 120-year life cycle that we're proposing for this. The jury is still out on how much extra life that stainless steel reinforcing gets you, but that is the Achilles heel of any concrete of concrete in general, is the steel reinforcing. And the fact that, you know, this bridge is being proposed with stainless steel, you know, I think the jury's out on it should be more than that 20-year cycle of preservations. It's just we don't know at this point. It's still so new.
Yeah, it would be nice to quantify what the maintenance cost is gonna be over the life of the bridge. For the 3 options, just so we go in with our eyes open.
Yep.
I certainly like the option C from all the other angles.
Well, one of the things that we'll be working on as we go through our capital budgeting process is looking at the cost of bridges over their life and starting to fund those processes, because, you know, no matter what you build, whatever building you build, the day you build it, you got to start putting money into a capital improvement program. And it's, you know, for buildings, it's like a 3% of what the building is replacement value is, and for bridges, it's you take the bridge cost over that time and put an inflation factor in, and you calculate what is that bridge going to do over 120 years and come up with a number. And that you try to fund that, because then it becomes things where you don't have to worry about in the future being short of money, because you have a reserve fund that actually takes care of each of these. And when, you know, when you're getting a $5 million bridge for free, yes, you're gonna have to put, you know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year away. But that's all you're putting in, you know what I mean, compared to the cost of the overall bridge. So I think with the current bridge lives, I mean, when you look at the bridges that were built during the post-war effort, which was the interstate system, they were all 80, 100 years, they've all lasted, you know, so the bridges we're building now should technically last a little longer because of the materials we have. But I do say, whether or not, even if we build a smaller bridge, we're gonna have to add money on an annual basis at some level to figure out how we're gonna preserve all infrastructure in town, whether it's roads, bridges, buildings, all of those things have to be addressed.
Is option C go ahead, or we still have hurdles to go through, right? They would potentially have problems getting it approved.
Yeah, that any alternative that any project selects, there could be, you know, speed bumps. The purpose of the engineering study effort that we went through now is to try to foresee as many of those impacts. This alternative avoids the middle foundation, for example, so we hopefully avoid that, but we acknowledge that the project may impact new riverbank, which would invoke an archaeological investigation of that unaltered riverbank. So we do envision that being part of it, but likely a smaller hurdle than negatively affecting the middle foundation. Any right-of-way impacts are a wild card as far as you know, participation of the abutting property owners. So that's as part of this federally regulated process, those discussions couldn't have happened at this point yet. They are a part of the next phase of the project. So it's really compartmentalized that way, that this decision needs to be, you know, based on the purpose and need. And then that's set. And then when the project moves forward, those future conversations with those adjacent property owners can now be had.
Does the 2-year design cycle, we have time built into it to accommodate discussions and things like that?
Yes, correct. And because it is federally funded, the right-of-way acquisition process, as it's called, follows the Uniform Act. So it's a federally regulated process. So there are fair valuations done of the property, just compensation offered. And it's a pretty long and very formal process with good documentation. Yeah.
Hi, Gary Wood, and I've certainly been to at least the initial meeting on this.
Yeah.
The large triangular pink area in there, may represent the wild card. That's me. Apart from that, the one thing that I had not heard in your discussion on this was much discussion at all about Grist Mill Hill. As the landowner who is directly on that, Gary.
This one?
Yes, what I'm saying is with our property, as we're looking at it, being in the pink area and the house
Yeah.
being on the left. We are keenly aware for the last 35 years of traffic and speed. And I didn't hear anything in the discussion about that impact on the bridge. The first thing, because you had sent these options, the drawings to us. The very first thing that occurred to us was increased speed on that hill. The only thing which is mitigating speed on the hill now is that curve. A little bit up above where you come off the crest of the hill and people most of the time look around the corner to see whether somebody's coming up the hill as they're coming down. But that may account for 90 or 95% of people. And the other 5 or 10% of the people who, I don't even know what the speed limit is on the hill. Is it 30? Or no? Is it 35? 35 and this is supposed to. Is that what it is on Riverton Hill? 35?
I'm sure not there.
To go down the hill at 35 is cruising right along. To envision being a motorist going down the hill or even going up, because people go up to the rate of speed, you know, to get up the hill. To envision 35 miles an hour down that hill, you're cruising. Likewise, coming back up. It's a real concern of this land use. The right of way and the part that would impact our property, you know, I would leave for another discussion here. I know it's got to happen, but that at least is a major concern in my view. And I mean, there's a few other neighbors here who might be able to speak to that issue to varying degrees. But I'm taking this from 35 years of, you know, looking right and looking left as we go out our driveway.
Just response to you, Gary, as you know where we live on Grist Mill, we have straightaway from South Road to the town line. And 90% of the people drive by there very responsibly. The other 5%, it doesn't matter what road you put them on, are going to drive ridiculous. That comes down to a fact where we have to discuss, make sure the police department steps up enforcement at the point in time that this would open up. And I mean, I know what your concern is. We have the same concern up where we are because of the long straightaway, and I've had conversations and the police have responded to some of those problems.
Another question back there. Yep.
What's the weight rating on this new bridge gonna be?
It ends up being like 100,000 pounds. So it's current
So we could run a
legal.
Commercial vehicle across it,
What's up?
so we could run commercial vehicles across it.
Yeah, again, stipulated by the federal funding and state funding.
If you took out the tunnel, what would the plan there be?
Is it just the embankment?
Yeah, we understand it would just be kind of like how the rail trail is up and down, just.
Well, there's a lot of ledge on each side preventing erosion. My yard's the one right there.
Okay,
So if we pulled that out,
He's right there.
I mean, my septic butts up to there. Is it just gonna be exposed?
No.
Is it gonna be stone?
Yeah.
Do I have a say in, public access? I have enough people coming through my yard already.
yeah, that, again, I think we kind of talked about a little bit about this turnaround of,
Well, who makes the decision on public access? Is that the rail trail? Is that the town?
it
So you need to
just-
turn around for plows, because that's still town road to the end of it. So we need a turnaround.
Next question, would the town be open to selling that, making that private, I maintain it, those types of options?
That is an option.
Yeah, that's always an option. And anybody has to cross your land to get to a spot. You have a say as to whether that's open to the public or not.
It's not now, and they cut through.
Yeah.
Even though there's a trail 50.
Right, but I'm just saying like, yeah, you don't have to make it a nice access and yes, it is open to you taking over that area.
Rail trail accesses that I have been involved in, it has been a two-part. The state looks for access, the town gives the approval. If it was town property, it was up to the town what to allow that access across the town property. So yes, town, unless something changes, the town would definitely be involved.
My opinion, in my opinion only, is I agree that it's silly to have a town road that goes down just for your driveway there, that it would be better to have your, but again, that's not my decision, but I agree with you, hear what you're saying, so.
and, I mean, there is no
That's smart.
formal access to the rail trail at Chris Mill Road, that
There's
trail,
not now.
that trail is not. formal
It would end up
access.
having to be a staircase to get down there.
But right now, there's no place to park.
Which
there.
is not
With
ADA
no
compliant
parking.
and cannot be built with federal dollars, so.
Yeah.
There is informal access in people park, but I'm just saying, even though there is that trail, people still crawl up the rocks and cut to there.
Yeah, okay.
Gary,
It probably is not in the category of formal access, but the historic Route 4 comes up through the Kirstead property, across the rail trail, up through our property. So that old road is literally still there.
right,
And that is the trail that you were talking about, that's 50 yards away from, or 50, whatever.
Yeah.
Feet away from you, from that side. And it is another consideration that, is it used a lot? At this point, I would say a fair amount. For people walking down there, biking.
Is that the little path?
It is the pathway, it is the pathway down, which was apparently the only road.
that's on your side, correct, Gary, correct?
Yes.
That's on our.
But you're
property.
saying they come up on your side as well?
Yeah, even, I'm just saying, even with an option, that's why I'd like to have
Yeah.
if there was,
Yeah.
or not encourage a public parking lot.
Yeah.
But I only mention that because we do minimal maintenance on that and rail trail access is important.
Anyone else have anything? Questions? Okay, we close the public hearing. Yeah, move to close. Second, all in favor? Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you very much, sure. Yep.
Okay.
I'll get back to you on the date.
Yeah.
We have to, we're gonna be talking about it, the next bridge next month.
Okay.
We're gonna be
Yeah.
doing the next
Yeah.
Potato?
Potato Road, yeah.
Potato roads.
You'll have your coring done for that.
They get it done this week?
Is that?
They get it done this week?
Supposed to be tomorrow, isn't it?
No, I thought it was Monday.
It was yeah, it was, I think it's, what's it, 16th, yeah, it's that's the 18th.
18th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it was.
that's what I-
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was like, oh, I haven't heard.
Yeah.
Usually when I don't hear, it goes well. Yeah, yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got minutes from the July 9th meeting. Have you both reviewed them? I have one correction on 8H. The PA informs select board about the programmable wireless fire alarms installed at the meeting house presentation. It's a possibility. We haven't done it, or it's not, they have not been installed yet, so, but we have we'll have the ability to. So can I have a amendment or a change of motion to approve? To,
Move
so
to accept as amended.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. I got a water bill,
Yes, you did.
Q1.
Took a little bit of time.
Well, I hope so.
Basically, and I just wanted to let everybody know, the water bills were late. There was some reading issues and equipment issues. The program and computer that we're using are no longer supported. There was a lot of significant issues with getting the data aligned. And when we finally got it to the point where we were getting ready to print bills, we had the lightning strike and we actually lost the computer. And that computer was the only one that had it on it, and it's something you can't update. Where we purchased the new software, we're slowly starting to make the switch over. But we do have it operational in a partial sense with the new system. And we expect the next water bill to be coming out quickly, so we apologize for them being close together, but it really is a technical issue, and we wanna let you know ahead of time.
Are we confident the first bill was correct?
Yes, we are. I think there was one item that they think was a mistake, and we're in the process of correcting that.
Okay, how soon is soon for the second one coming out?
Oh, well, the goal was by the end of the month, we have all the information, so early August.
Yeah, you just got Q1 and we're now in Q3.
Right.
Well, Q2, we're starting Q3. Q2 bills are supposed to go out around August 1st.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
We got 3 critical facility repairs.
Yeah, we have, as we've been starting evaluations of buildings and things for the next year's budget. We've come across 3 significant issues. One is the freeze board on the north wall at the meeting house. Not quite as big a problem, but we are getting a price to get that repaired. Not, I think that one we can take care of. The museum, the second floor, the balcony area. If you'll notice, if anybody's been by it, you'll see a little hole on the end because there was some research digging away some rot on that wood. And we don't know the extent of it. So we've had a contractor look at it, and basically what they're recommending in the beginning is we just put a support up and then we start opening it up to see what the extent of the damage is. And wanted to let the board know that and get approval to start that process, because we don't want to lose any of our buildings or functions because we're not taking care of, drainage issues. One of the worst things we could do is allow water to infiltrate in the buildings, and because the damage just gets exponentially worse. So we want to look at that. And at the highway garage, there's 2 items involved. One is in the office, I guess about 2 or 3 years ago, there was a pretty significant water leak that's been running in through the headers and in the metal building. And it actually did get into one computer and different issues. A price was given. It was determined that we should wait and not do that fix at that time. It was about a $5,000 fix. And they said use more caulk. They did that, and we're still getting as much water. We have trays in there. We have a new computer. We've cleaned up the place, and we want to make sure we take care of that correctly, which is going to involve taking off a couple of the panels and putting in new headers and fixing that problem. And that is a $5,200 fix, and I was looking for approval to start that process.
And you said we had a bid back in,
Yeah, it was in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. It was in 3 years ago.
Yes.
And now we just got it updated, and it's a $5,200 fix. And also on the highway garage, we have been running into a problem with being able to pump fuel. Our electrical system is in question. The first response was we thought it was just to replace the pump. But we're still blowing fuses, so before we replace a pump, we want to get the electrical checked out because evidently the way the system is set up is it's exposed Romex in the highway garage to a outlet on the outside of the building and everything just plugs into it. And basically all the stuff outside is, for lack of a better word, extension cords. And it turns out that the electrician I was given the name of had looked at it a couple of years ago and said that that whole setup is not done right. There's no conduit in the ground, there's no anything, so he is going to evaluate the system and let me know what he thinks it's gonna cost. We wanna make sure we have some clean power out there, and then we can identify whether or not we have a bad pump before we go buy a pump.
Because there's a thing called codes.
Those details.
Did we have an electrician install it? Do we know, like?
No, my understanding is no, and if they did, it was years ago, and I think there was just add-ons and band-aids done later. From what I understand, so what we want to do is, we're gonna have them look at this particular item initially, and then take a look at some other code issues and see if we have any other things that'll have to be dealt with, but that's one that we're going to have to address. It's outdoors and it's not protected correctly. But the one we have the price for today is the water system on the front of the building.
Carrie Ann, do we have money? Do we have $5,200 to fix this?
Yeah, I think we have, we changed our property and liability billing cycle to be January to December. So in that change, we got credited back the 6 months that we paid. So we really have $38,000 of unspent property and liability. So
I mean, in our building maintenance line item, we have, I think, what, $19,000 technically left, but I know we've allocated some of it potentially as matching funds for the meeting house.
So when will we have to pay that insurance again? When,
now it's gonna be January 1st, and we made the change so it lines up with our budget year. Because what had been happening was halfway through the year, our rates would change and it would be unbudgeted. So now we get the yearly property and liability bill for the exact budget year. So making that change, we ended up paying 6 months this year to get lined up.
thank you. All right, then I'll move that we proceed with the cost to fix the leak before it damages other things, so it gets more expensive.
So you're approving you're making a motion for the 5,200
Yeah,
and the freeze board? On the meetings?
The freeze board will be time and material. It won't be, it's just the base of
We
the
don't have a
siding,
price
so
on
we
it.
don't have a price. We'll just.
Can you bring it back to us? When we get the price?
All second on the 5,200.
All in favor?
This leak, is that involved in insulated wall?
Yes. And it's, if you go in the building right inside, over top of the desk is right there. You look in the header and that's all shut.
Well, my point being, are they gonna find mold when they get that opened up?
Well, they may, and I think he's assuming he's gonna have to fix insulation right there, so. That's where that is. So that's the items on the facilities that we have right now, that we still have other things to work on. But these are the ones that are critical at the
And
time.
then we talked about finishing the roof on the senior center.
Yeah, and I have a proposal in for that, so we can at
That'll
least
get
do
through the
budgeting, so we
budget
can
system
put it in the budget
for next
season.
year.
Yeah,
Early
it's
next
like,
year.
it's in the 40,000 range to finish
Okay.
it.
and then, so you were saying on the museum, did you want us to make a motion to look into that more?
I mean, I want you to know the
Yeah.
expense, we're gonna have to fix whatever the problem is, and I just wanted you to be aware.
Okay,
Because it's, either fix it or lose it type of stuff, so.
So if we support it without opening it up right now and save it for next year.
Well,
and we're running out of
I don't think it's gonna
space
be an
anyways.
astronaut, it's not gonna be like, where we're looking at a $20,000 fix, but it could be in that
that's,
4 to
that's
5,000.
recorded though, that's on record, Chet, we're not gonna go.
I said, don't think it will run that,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, I'm expecting something in that 2,500 to 5,000
I think
range
it would be
unless.
helpful to know, so if it is more expensive, we can budget for it.
Well, I think what's gonna happen is I think we're gonna go, he's gonna support it, he's gonna go open it real quick.
And find what
And
the
then
problem
say, well,
is.
once we see the extent, then we'll know.
Yeah, I mean, living in an old house, I don't believe it'll be that easy, but I'm hopeful.
Okay. Well,
You would
that
have
is,
to say.
well, and I
That's
agree,
a
it's just,
Wonderful chat.
it looks, right now, there's nothing visible in that area that looks like it has the same problem, but we'll see. So, yeah, that's all I have for that.
You got your windows open?
Yes, I do, my back ones.
You close it?
Oopsies.
It's.
Yeah.
That's how you get rot. Come on now.
Oh, yeah, with the truck, you
Leave
just
your
open the
window open.
doors,
Yeah.
let it run.
Anything else, Chet, for your rest of your report?
Well, just a couple of things, I had a email and phone request from Valerie Baroka. She is the person who 2 years ago, I guess, was doing swim lessons at the lake. And she's requesting permission to do that again. She has all of her information. She sent all her credentials.
Yep.
And she just wanted permission to continue starting that process.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll move to. So,
A second. All in favor?
And then the next item is pest control. As the several people in town have been finding evidence of invaders into town hall and the EOC in kitchen areas, cabinets, and all kinds of fun things. We had JP Pest Control come in and do a quick look at it. The town office has had rodent activity on the interior of the building, inside the mechanical rooms, offices, and evidence in the water sprinkler room, as well as the closet off the hallway. The building has a history of rodent activity, as JP Pest has been employed a few times in the past to correct these issues. There's also a large amount of box elder bugs inside the building, and these are the black bugs with red V's on their backs. These bugs come in during the cold months in the fall and in the winter by the hundreds to get it. And included in the proposal is they are providing a fall invader service to prevent that. And then at the police and EMT, we found evidence of mouse droppings in the bays of the garages, mechanical areas, and EMT supply closets. Also evidence of carpenter ant activity in the data room, off the large conference room under the window. Along the outside of the building is evidence of continued ant activity as well as around the building. So they've done they're gonna do a biannual perimeter. So basically, it's what is it? I think it's about $100 a month per site to get us to where we're dealing with taking care of these issues. As soon as I find it.
It's gonna give us a rate if
11806 and 11984.
they look at other buildings. Did they
Well,
look at anything else?
these were the two we looked at first, and we're gonna have to have a little inspection, but wanted to see if we could get these two contracts authorized.
What was the rate again?
11984 a month for the police department, or it's EOC, and 11806 for town hall library.
So when you say EOC, is it this entire building?
Yes. They said they're seeing them in the ambulance around the perimeter. Everything, so.
So they come every month and change out the mouse traps? What do they do?
Well, there's some spraying because there is insects involved, and then. I'll have to read the whole.
Is JP the only option?
It's the one we've used before and the one that came over. I have not gotten a secondary price at this point. And if you'd like to do that, we can do that.
I don't know if there's anybody else available or not.
I don't know. I just know that this is a company we dealt with, and it's,
They used to be Terminix. I don't know. if they're
they will
still
set up
there.
exterior EVO stations, protect the mouse, interior stations, and insect monitor. Leave QAM at town clerk. And they're going to be, there's gonna be continued inspections and other events tied to it.
Bill, did you have an option back there?
No,
No.
there are. We need JP to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Terminix, I just said we want monitor.
Monitor.
And if you'd like, we can get a
I mean, we can get started, but we should probably ask if there's anybody else out there too before we.
Well, I'm signing a 12-month,
Oh, it's cool.
so if we wanna wait, we can do that, and.
How long do you get? How quickly did you?
Well, they're pretty significant right now. Actually. Carrie Ann is like starting a little farm in her office.
Let's get them up and running. Carried away.
So, and that would be all I have then.
I'm good with that. Hey, I just have a quick thing under other business.
Do we vote on that for if he's?
I guess we should have for spending money, yeah. Yeah,
Do you wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion, because I think we should move forward.
All second thing.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna move you to the middle seat here.
Yeah,
like it.
Thank you.
So we got an email from Friends of Canaan Village. And I just want to make it public knowledge that they're working on a couple projects for the town. And at Depot Park, they're working on a project to put a new sign down there for Depot Park. And highlighting some information about the rail trail. They're also replacing the welcome signs as we enter Canaan. There's 3 signs coming in from both directions on Route 4 and 118. And finally, they're mulching plants along the Route 4 Depot Street around where we have sidewalks in the downtown thing. So I just want to publicly thank that group, Stella, but the rest of the group as well. And then the other project that is happening, being led by Robin Dow, is revitalizing the town common this fall, hopefully. And stripping it down. She's trying to get support from Phil and from Mr. Zani, and to reseed it and actually bring it back to life a little bit and build it up. So they're trying to do that, schedule it around the end after townwide yard sale, and then hopefully get enough time to get some grass coming up before winter hits. So I just want to publicly note that, you know, there's some stuff going on like that, right? Volunteer actions. Bill?
I haven't heard it come up in a meeting, but you guys need to give official authorization to that.
So I guess we could. I mean, so we certainly can, Phil. I talked to Robin about it and
Oh, I'm just saying,
So-
somebody said, well, the town actually. mentioned it.
yeah.
I told her she needs to send official requests that for us to, but
When is it starting?
Be after the town
October.
yard sale in October. So
it won't interfere. They want to wait till October so it doesn't interfere with the
farmers
market.
market or anything like that. So they want to do it as early as possible, obviously, to get grass growing before, you know, winter hits. So I'll talk to Robin and have her draft up a quick letter for us. So.
And if you would like, if she's, you know, you could give me authorization to. Give permission to do it,
Okay.
if you wanna do that.
And Scott, did you see the plan that she had that she emailed? I don't know if you've been able to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I was part of her discussion drawing that up.
Oh. All right, so I make sure.
Yes,
Well, I would move then that we authorize Chet to give her permission when she presents.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody else have anything for tonight?
The only other thing is the MS 535, which is just our year-end finance thing that we report to the state, which is what was in our bank account
Yep.
and things like that. So if you guys would just sign it, it doesn't require a motion.
It's a whole row of zeros.
Yeah.
Installation of the new meeting house sound system started today. It may be done this week. Won't cost the town anything, provided by the library reading program.
Great.
Great.
And the Wi-Fi is supposed to be here in the next day or two that we are gonna go get set up over there so we can get the fire alarm
Alarm
started.
systems.
Hopefully it'll be active shortly.
Great. Have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.